In this video, I get to chat with one of the Virtuix investors as well as Jan, the CEO himself. It's going to be a long one, so let's dive right in.
Just do it. Just drink, 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 drink.
Cheers and welcome to Beer and Headshots. I am J-Bar, and if you haven't seen my first video on the Omni ONE, I would suggest you start with that because that kind of sets the stage for what's about to happen here. After my first video came out, I had a lot of good comments on people who were interested in the topic, and I did want to dive in a bit further. And luckily, I had one of the investors at Virtuix reach out to me, as well as Jan, the CEO of Virtuix himself. And I was able to have interviews with both of them just to kind of get perspectives on both sides and see what's really going on with the state of the Omni ONE. Like I said, this is going to be a little bit of a longer video, but I did try to cut out as much fluff as possible. The first video I'm going to show you is with my interview with the Virtuix investor who did choose to remain anonymous, and then right after that, we'll jump into my interview with Jan, the CEO of Virtuix. And as always, if you do like this kind of content, please subscribe, maybe hit that bell and comment below. It really helps me out. I do want to throw out a quick apology. In my interview with the investor, I end up calling Jan a few times just because of the way his name is spelled and because I'm not a professional and I did not do my work ahead of time to figure out how it should have been pronounced before I got into that first interview. I do pronounce it right when talking with Jan, but sorry, Jan, my bad. And now on to my interviews with the investor and with Jan. I'm super happy. I really appreciate that you reached out because I think it's really good to get the perspective from your angle. You let me know that you were kind of in their top tier package just based off how much you invested. So did you actually initially invest because of the Omni ONE, or were you a part of like their Kickstarter that was going on way back in the day?
So I do actually. I have to apologize. I was incorrect about the top tier package.
Oh, okay.
I went back and looked just a little bit ago just to see what that all included, and I was like, oh crap, there's actually a higher package. So the highest package was 50,000,
Oh yeah.
and the second tier was 20,000 or above. So I did about 25,000. Omni ONE is what really captured my attention. They do mention Omni Arena a little bit when they were trying to seek investors, but Omni ONE was definitely what they were gearing towards. Interestingly enough, I was actually looking into buying a catwalk when I found the Omni ONE investor portal.
Yeah, no, I was kind of in the same boat. I was kind of looking at both around the same time, and I went with the catwalk just because that was the only one that ended up being available. The Omni ONE kind of promises a lot with that video, especially it does, has quite a few more features that they're promoting compared to what the catwalk can do. With the package that you have, what are you kind of promised to get out of this once, the investment goes through and then they're ready to ship? Is it just an Omni ONE, or is there other things kind of involved with that?
So in that package, it includes a free Omni ONE system, which would include the treadmill and the headset. That would be given to me as a credit, which can be transferred.
Okay.
It also includes 10 free games by my choice and a free year of the Omniverse online subscription. I can't remember what they called it.
10 free games. I mean, do they specify? I haven't heard of that one yet. So are those games within their Omniverse? Oh, because obviously that might be a little different than their subscription package. Or are those just like 10 games off Steam to play? Or do you know how that works?
Yes, it was 10 games from their Omniverse. I think they have 30 right now, or they said they'd have 30 at launch.
So does that mean there's a subscription package plus you need to typically buy the games on top of that?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yep.
That's very interesting. Very good to know.
You brought that up in the video I watched, and definitely a little bit of concern about the subscription itself, because I think it's like a $30 a month subscription.
At least,
That's
yeah.
pretty steep. Yeah, most VR games themselves are not worth $30.
So my concern there, Jan kind of pitched to me as well as Ben Virtuix when I was asking questions and stuff, and I see them doing this a lot to people, right, is they keep pointing people back to the newsletter and then the fact that they have such a good Omni Arena business. But it's such a different market, right? When you're going from like an arcade type market where like there's clients that just walk into the arcade, hey, this is cool, I'll pay the $10-15 to play the game for a bit, and then they go off and do something else. That's totally different than the consumer market of people that would actually be paying upwards of $2,000 plus a subscription fee plus to buy the games that are only accessible through the Omni ONE. They keep bringing up the Omni Arena stuff, but I'm worried that if they try to go with that same sales model for consumers, I mean, nobody in this area, I think, really likes to pay subscriptions just to play games. And I think when you have such a small kind of a niche market here where you have to have people that enough people buy the treadmill and they have to use it enough in order for those games to stay active. Because like, what's the point of having multiplayer games or anything like that if no one else is going to be playing, because they all need to be on that subscription. They need to have bought the game and then they need to have bought the treadmill. So a lot of layers there compared to the Catwalk C, in my opinion, where like, I mean, like I just bought the thing and it showed up, the software works, and I can use it with any VR game with free locomotions. Those were the kind of things I was kind of comparing in the video. So since you did see the video that I put up, I mean, was there anything in there that you felt like I was kind of off base on, or is there anything that you think I missed just from your perspective there?
No, I think it was all about right. I mean, I literally just watched the video yesterday. I don't think there was anything that was way too off.
Okay.
I think in my head I made a couple mental notes, like maybe he might have missed something here or there, but it was nothing that you really weren't seeing.
So when I was doing it, I just felt like I kept missing something, because when Ben responded to me on the Reddit and then Jan responded on my video, they both mentioned that they send out these newsletters and that I should be in the Discord. But when I looked at the newsletters and then when I went in the Discord, it was the same thing as the subreddit. It was kind of people not knowing what's going on and the can kept getting kicked down the road, you know? I thought it was weird that they kept routing me to those areas even though they weren't giving any more information than what I felt like I already had. So I just wanted to make sure there wasn't something that I just blatantly missed when I was looking at that
Yeah,
stuff.
and actually to add to that, in the Discord several months ago, I asked the question if there was going to be a shareholders meeting.
Mhm.
This is not really that type of business to do something like that, but maybe I figured they could give us a chance to give us more knowledge than they've actually been giving out. And I also mentioned that it's a requirement even for privately held companies.
Yeah.
And then Ben Virtuix responded saying that there would not be a shareholders meeting. So yeah, we get very little information.
It seems like there's almost some like paranoia in this day and age. A lot of companies have realized that transparency is kind of key. I find it very odd when I get the answers from them that they're trying to hide what they're doing from other companies. So like, you know, this will probably interest, I think, you know, you as an investor and some of the others investors out there, like some questions I have for Jan are going to be things like, if you're worried about people taking what your idea is here, so we already have that prototype video out, right? It's not really hard, I think, for another company to like just look at that video and see what they did for the certain types of movements, you know, kind of reverse engineer that and make it their own way, right? Like Cat VR could probably do that at this point if they wanted to just kind of reverse engineer that video. I'm wondering whenever they say that they're just worried about they're worried about other people essentially taking what they're doing, because I don't know if that means that there's other things that they're doing that we haven't seen in that video yet that they're trying to come out with. So I'm going to be asking things like that to Jan, because I'm trying to be very neutral here, but I also have kind of my own opinions on this. But it almost seems like they keep saying those things to kind of just keep pushing things down, because maybe they're not as prepared as they thought, because there's a lot of this back and forth too on like whether or not they even have emulation software. I saw some things saying that they're working on it, and I saw some comments from like Ben and other people saying that they might work on it. And I also don't know how they would be working with a standalone headset, right? Because the Pico Neo is not even really available in the States at this point, and then the Quest 2 is pretty locked down, and that's why Cat VR can't really integrate with the Quest 2 standalone. Those are questions I'm going to ask them, and I mean, maybe that's a part of what they're trying to keep secret, so I'll make sure I ask Jan that. Then really my last thing for you here is, as an investor, what questions would you have that you'd like me to ask Jan when I'm on the call with him on Friday?
Well, I think you've already kind of hit the head on most of them, but reasoning for timeline for sure. I mean, this is the responses we're given are, like you said, they're kind of like, are they hiding something, or are they just kind of making something up? There's always theories going on in the Discord, which is just super weird when people from Virtuix have access to the Discord. It's like, you know, if I were any of them in Virtuix, I'd be reading these like, these guys have no clue what's going on. But that's kind of the point. You know, we would just like more information on what the heck is going on. To hit on something you said earlier, you used the word paranoid. He mentioned both on Discord and I think on Seed Invest, which is where we invested, that there were competitors secretly acting as anonymous commenters, commenting on there to sabotage them, which is kind of a very strange thing. And like you said, kind of maybe a paranoid kind of thing, but they could be right. I don't know. But to talk about something like that could be an opportunity too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just having a timetable seems like what everybody wants. I don't think people care if your product has to be pushed down. They just want to know maybe why, and then what the next plan is, right? They had a Kickstarter back then where that actually ended up failing, didn't it? And they had to refund everybody. I remember seeing.
Yes, and one good thing that came out of that, and actually maybe something that is not good out of it, but on the surface it seems good, is they planned on anybody who requested, hey, we never got our unit.
Hmm.
I guess they've been giving out those units. The one thing that kind of feared me as an investor was, were they raising this money about a year ago to pay off the investors from the previous round on Kickstarter? That's probably the one thing that kind of scared me.
That's interesting, actually. Yeah, and that's the problem is like you don't know, right? You don't know if they're private, so it's like you don't really know what they're using your money for, and that's what's scary. Because then if they spent your money and then they don't have a product to give you at the end of the day, that's not good.
Right.
I'll start things off by just saying thank you for reaching out to me. You could probably tell by my YouTube subscriber count, I'm not a big creator or anything like that. And it's just kind of something I do on the side. I've fallen kind of really in love with VR over the last several years, and there's just so many cool things out there. And I tend to have an addictive personality. So when I get into something, I really get into it, especially the immersive VR tech. It's just really cool stuff that's coming out there, kind of stuff that, you dream of as a kid. And I always think in a cheesy way, using things like, VR treadmills or haptic vests or gun stocks, anything like that. And having to use your body in VR kind of just really puts you in that mindset of being in a game, and you're kind of leveling up your body as you're playing a game. So I don't know, it's just a really cool future I think that we're heading towards. So that's why I'm so into this stuff. I saw the stuff with you guys on Shark Tank way back. And then I saw the trailer for the Omni ONE, which just it blew my mind, absolutely blew my mind with how cool that looked and just everything that you could do there. It looked really kind of freeing almost, and just a lot of cool stuff there. So that's kind of what prompted me to kind of really get even more into VR tech. Eventually I did go with the Catwalk C because that was what was on the market at the time. I really like it. It's fun to be able to just, again, run around in VR. So it was the only thing out there in the market at the time. I kind of just looked back recently at the Omni ONE. So that's what got me a little more curious and kind of prompted me to make that video you saw. Again, super appreciate you reaching out and I look forward to chatting with you here. I don't know how you want to start here. I do have a few questions I'd like to ask you too, but would you want to start maybe with anything you got for me?
I just want to thank you for making that video. I know you still have a small following today, but I think I really like your production value and your style. So I
appreciate that.
I think your audience may grow quicker than you think. I think what you do is really cool.
That's the hope.
Yeah, absolutely. And so and watching your video, it made me realize that, look, we've actually done a good job keeping all our investors and our community informed. We have now close to 10,000 investors that came through our seed invest round. So we send monthly updates. We have our Discord, but indeed to the outside world, outside of that, we haven't really given any updates. So I'm not surprised that people who saw something about Omni ONE, gosh, a year and a half ago, and I'm thinking, what happened with that? So I thought this was a good opportunity to shed some light on what we've been doing.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, is there anything you wanted to start with, or is it okay if I just kind of start by asking you some questions?
Yeah, dive in.
I mean, obviously, to summarize, you guys have a pretty good commercial market out there with the Omni Arenas and the Omni Pro treadmills. I actually realized that I have, since I'm in Wisconsin, there's a few places in Minnesota that actually have Omni Arenas, I believe, or at least one, not too far.
Yeah, we have one at the Super Bowl in Wisconsin.
Oh, you have one in Wisconsin? Okay, I didn't see that one.
And we're bringing one next week. We're installing one at Waukesha, Wisconsin.
Waukesha, yeah, okay. That's how the Midwesterns say it. No, that's all right. But no, that is awesome to hear because I really got to get out there and actually try some of those. So that'll be kind of fun. And my point there is, so obviously you guys have a lot of experience in this field, right? So it's really cool to see that you're working on the consumer market, right? Which is more for folks like me who kind of like to get into that stuff. My first question is obviously the big thing kind of that everybody's talking about. And I did kind of hop in the Discord and get to see some of the newsletters. So I think these are just some of the things that maybe haven't quite yet been answered even in those yet. But obviously, we've had a challenging few years with pandemic and supply chain issues and all that. So could we maybe start with you letting me know a little bit about how that kind of affected maybe the release date of the Omni ONE and all that?
Yeah, definitely. Because indeed we are slightly delayed. We're initially targeting of shipping this second half 2021, late last year. And certainly now we're beyond that. And we've been a bit cautious with committing to shipping timelines and whatnot, because we've been burned before where you communicate a timeline, and then eventually that needs to be pushed back and
You don't
pushed
want to
back.
overpromise.
And that is equally painful. But we also realize that is being vague about it is also not helpful at all. But I'm comfortable, telling folks that, look, our aim is to start shipping this year.
Awesome.
And we're on a nice trajectory now. It took us a bit longer last year to really finish off the product, the kind of the functional design. And what we showed in the Seed Invest campaign, that video was a prototype.
Mm-hmm.
But to really make it into a fully functional product took a bit longer. Mainly, the key problem we had to fix was, okay, we have this one support arm that rotates with you, and you have full freedom of movement, crouching, jumping, but you also still need to have some support as well, because you can't just walk off the base. Or if you're a novice user, you want to feel some support. Otherwise, you're just like freely walking on a slippery dish, which if you're a novice user, that's pretty hard. So
we'd end up with a lot more of those VR fail videos too.
Yeah, exactly. So with that one arm, how can we provide full freedom of movement, but also enough support? And then that level of support, okay, it also needs to be variable, because it needs to work for, a 50-pound kid, but also for a 250-pound guy. And those are two different levels of support. What supports a 250-pound guy? Well, the small kid just can't do anything anymore, right? So there has to be somewhat adjustable. So to figure all that out took us a bit longer, especially with travel ban to Asia, to China. We're based in Austin, Texas. We also have an office in Zhuhai for our production, some engineering as well. And our two offices really work hand in hand, but not being able to travel there, the local quarantines, mainly in China, that constantly stopped the development of prototypes and whatnot. It set us back a bit, but I'm glad to say that now we are past all that, and we are now rapidly making progress on putting this product into production and into the hands of our customers. So I thank everybody for their patience. It's coming. It's going to be worth the wait. And our aim is to start shipping this before the end of the year this year.
Absolutely. And that's awesome here. And again, of course, right? Like we all got to always understand that the pandemic has caused just kind of a ripple effect where everything kind of got delayed because of that. So that definitely makes sense. That's kind of a good segue into one question I kind of had as I was seeing comments on Reddit or Discord, and just, some of the responses. So I mean, it does sound like you guys are in this stealth mode is what you're calling it, right? Where you're kind of purposefully not releasing certain information, just as something maybe to deter people taking some of your designs and all that. And you kind of mentioned that you had to make some changes to make sure that it's adjustable and all that kind of stuff. So I'm curious, are you able to kind of tell me maybe how far along you are with the Omni One, and is it going to look a bit different than what we saw in the trailer, a couple years back now?
Yeah. The functional design is done. We have of course, it's greatly working product. Now just finishing up the look of it. We're now doing testing, reliability testing, strength testing. So we're in that phase. It's going to look a bit different. Not that different, but somewhat different from what we showed in the video.
Okay.
Can't disclose too much just yet. That's, typically hardware companies, they make these products in stealth mode, right? Apple doesn't tell you along the way how they're working on their VR headset and when it's coming and what it's going to do. They announce it, here it is, and they start shipping the next day. Of course, we initially we started as a Kickstarter company, but also now with Seed Invest, it's the opposite, right? We show what we're working on. We use that to get excitement, to raise money, which of course we need to have. And then we work more on the products, which does require more obligations as to, showing what you're doing and when and so forth, which makes it harder because ideally, you just don't want to give away too much. Especially in our case, we have some competition, or CAT, as you know, which is a good product. And, we're very friendly and we like competition. But there was some nastiness there during our Seed Invest campaign that really shook us to the bone. I mean, we are not like that, but the nastiness and the ferociousness that we saw from our competition publicly, it was something that shocked us. And so we've become more cautious insofar as sharing information, sharing our release date and so forth.
I think I heard a little about that. So is what you're talking about something to do with, were you guys getting like comments or something that you believe were from CAT, or was there some way?
It was a whole smear campaign, including 30-page PowerPoint slide decks and videos. And look, we have a Chinese team as part of our company. We recognize Chinese English when we see it. I mean, it was pretty clear that this was not made by somebody in the Midwest of the United States of America. So yeah, a whole smear campaign and constantly, and also all these fake Reddit threads, and literally like posters who literally made their Reddit accounts, literally the same day that we launched our Seed Invest campaign, right? So not like long-standing members of the community that spoke up. No, just accounts made the day of, brand new accounts, just to disperse the same smears and misinformation. It was really, it shook us quite a bit. Luckily, it failed. Luckily, we were able to refute all these baseless claims. And luckily, we, our community, our fans, they know us. They appreciate what we do. So we were able to overcome that. And of course, our campaign was a big success. But it was, maybe we were naive because we are quite friendly people, ourselves. So we wouldn't think of doing something like that ourselves. So to that extent, we were not expecting that. But it was something else.
Yeah. I mean, of course, I could see why that would put a bad taste in your mouth, right? And especially if, I mean, we always know competition is good in markets like these because it really drives the technology forward, makes people work a bit harder, makes people put things out a bit better. But I mean, we don't want to be attacking each other, right? So
exactly.
That makes sense.
At least play by common rules of decency,
right?
And some of that was just below the belt. Yeah,
gotcha. No, I hear you there. Another thing that I was actually really curious about was how this will work with a standalone kit, because I understand in the video, obviously, you have the Pico Neo 2. Right now, we have the Quest 2s out there, but there's really not much else for good options for standalone headsets that at least consumers have access to. I don't know if you guys have access to anything different. So are you able to tell me kind of what standalone headset you plan on working with at this point, or is that still being determined?
Yeah, we haven't confirmed it yet, although you saw in the video, what headset we use there, which was Pico, but we haven't officially confirmed yet. There's a few options, frankly, but like you said, there's not that many, but there's a few options. And we will announce the final headset, in due course.
Of course. Yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to more standalone headsets in general on the market. I've been using my Valve Index, and which I bought on launch, and it's amazing, but that wire just gets in the way, and I can't wait to get rid of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And still be able to play at that same level. Another thing I wanted to ask was kind of so you guys are kind of going with what you're calling the Peloton model, right? So there's people that are going to be buying the treadmill, the Omni ONE. They're also going to have the option to connect it to their PC, just like, with anything else out there, right? To use it. And then the subscription model, I don't know, you can let me know if you kind of landed on a price. What I heard was maybe like around $30 or so a month, was to kind of have access, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, because this part I don't fully know, I think, but to get access essentially to the Omniverse, and then they could purchase games within that Omniverse to kind of play with each other on the standalone side of things, right?
Not quite. So we have the Omni Online subscription, as we call it. It'll be $14-15 a month. Okay. And it's for online gameplay. It's basically like Xbox Live for Xbox or PS Plus for PlayStation. Without it, you can still use the Omni. You can still buy games. You can play games, but only in offline modes. It's really to cover the cost of online gameplay, online servers. And so if you want to play online and play online multiplayer games with your friends, that's where you need the Omni Online subscription. Yeah.
And that's for multiplayer games when again, we're talking about the standalone set for the Omni ONE, right? Obviously, when you still connect to your PC, everything's going to work however it works when you're playing on games.
Correct.
PC.
Yeah.
Okay. Exactly. Gotcha. Just making sure there was nothing locked down there. Okay. And pricing for it itself, I mean, are you guys still kind of aiming for that $2,295 was the dollar point that I was looking at for the whole standalone kit?
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit higher. Lots has changed in the last 18 months, as everybody's well aware. I mean, just the sheer cost of components, parts, shipping, logistics, it's gone a bit haywire, really. So the initial price point will no longer be tenable. It's going to be a bit more, not that much more. We'll announce the final pricing again in the next few months or so.
Gotcha. A few months for the final pricing. Cool. So I do want to bring up one thing that I did see, and this is more kind of maybe an assurance thing for investors, if you are able to give me any information on this. So I know you guys had this Kickstarter campaign. I think it was like back in 2017, right? And then the result of that is people ended up having to get refunded, or you were able to get still treadmills out to some of those people, right? Is there any kind of assurance or anything kind of different going on now that, where we can kind of make sure people know that that's not going to happen this time?
Oh yeah, yeah, and you're 4 years off. Our
I'm
Kickstarter
4 years off.
campaign
Okay, I
was,
saw a date on a Kickstarter
yeah,
page, and
2013, way
wow,
back
okay,
then. We were way early. We were doing VR before it was cool again.
yep, exactly.
I
Okay,
joke. So what happened there? Look, the early days, we were one of the first companies in this new wave of VR innovation.
Mhm.
I personally started working on the Omni even before the Oculus DK1 was out.
Wow.
First demos was using the Virtuix, so way
Mhm.
back when. And then did our Kickstarter campaign. We're going to bring out the Omni for the consumer. And there was a lot of uncertainty at that time. VR as a market, as a technology, everything was so new. We developed a product, we started to bring it out. Turned out that the Omni, by the time we developed it, it really was quite a bit bigger and heavier and sturdier than we had initially envisioned.
Gotcha.
And it just it ended up being more of a commercial product than a consumer
Mhm.
product. And we quickly realized to start shipping that product worldwide as a small company, worldwide, it was just not realistic.
Mhm.
Start a worldwide logistics operation at that time. This also before Peloton. Now these channels are more established, direct to
Mhm.
consumer channels, DTC. So back then, and then also the consumer market that just wasn't there, and then so we, just to survive as a company, we had to make a decision to pivot to the commercial market.
Okay.
That was our only way to survive. But we said, look, we're gonna refund everybody's money. So
Mhm.
certainly if you backed it, here's our money back with interest. We even added some
Oh,
interest
nice.
to these refunds. Just
Gotcha.
to do right. It wasn't an easy step because we had this awesome community of VR enthusiasts, and then I was part of that, and the early VR community at that time. It was really fantastic. So it was really painful for us to have to turn away from that,
Mhm.
go the commercial route. But we did that. We survived. We did well. Now, we go back to the consumer market, and it's really, it's always been the big vision of our company, and now it's finally possible. Now the technology is finally ready, where we can bundle the Omni with the headset, offer the
Mhm.
product to the consumer. The business model around it is much more established, thanks to Peloton, for example. So the
Mhm.
DTC, direct to consumer model, where we can sell directly to consumers, ship directly to consumers. All of that is much more established now. So yeah, no, we're all in on Omni ONE.
Mhm. That's
So
awesome to hear. And I mean, I
absolutely.
understand. Obviously, 2013, you were kind of breaking into something that really didn't exist before, right? You were
Absolutely, yeah.
trying to start something completely new. So it's interesting to know that obviously you started with the consumer in mind, went to commercial to kind of maybe build up those chops, get the model figured out and all that, and then come right back to consumer. So no, I do like that. That makes a lot of sense. I did have one of your investors kind of reach out to me. So I did talk with him a little bit. And so I just kind of asked him, I figured, hey, I got this call coming up with Jan. So maybe I can throw a question that you have over to Jan. And really didn't have too much, just really wondering if there's anything that you can tell folks about the timeline. No, I know we're saying in in this year, hopefully, that everything's going to be released, but is there any maybe time frame that we would expect to see some more updates, maybe another trailer video, anything like that? Or is it just going to be, all right, here's now we're releasing it, here we go?
It's a good question. I think what we started doing now, in response to more and more questions also from investors. Now every monthly investor newsletter, we're going to start releasing more about the product, instead of just saying, okay, we don't want to release anything. We're going to slowly release more and more about the product as we get ready for our beta program first, and then release thereafter.
Gotcha. Good to know. And because it sounds like you're totally reasonable about all this. It sounds like you kind of know that, at the end of the day, people want transparency, but you're also trying to kind of combat this competitive aspect to it. And it sounds like you kind of know that people are looking for that. So hopefully we kind of see that soon, and then things will kind of move forward from there. With where you think the Omni ONE is at, I mean, are we going to see, this is just kind of an add-on question, but are we going to see kind of do you think the exact amount of physicality that we did in that initial trailer? Has anything changed in terms of functionality? Like, will I still be able to get down on one knee, which is something I can't do on the Catwalk C, and it's something I would be looking forward to?
Absolutely, yeah. The functionality is the same, or better. Yeah,
Good.
crouching, kneeling, jumping, backwards, full freedom of movement. with a device that's optimized for the living room. So I think it's going to be a fantastic product. I can't wait to start shipping it. That's for sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I can't wait to see it too. And the it's one thing I got to skip back to something I forgot. The only other thing that I saw that was kind of hit or miss on what I was hearing on where you guys were really at with this. So it's come up a few times though, but emulation software, right? So the ability to basically take any VR game and have your treadmill work with it. So I know we have two options here. So there's the SDK, which you guys kind of already have out there where developers can build it into their game. And the only, I always have a small amount of concern with things like that. Usually that means like, so say the next Half-Life Alyx comes out, right? And it's the next big thing. If they don't start out built with the SDK, then you kind of have a treadmill sitting there, that can't really play it quite yet. So what I was hearing with emulation software is I saw some stuff about, well, there's third-party stuff out there you can use, but it wasn't clear on whether or not you guys have kind of cracked the code on how you're going to tackle that. So anything you can tell me kind of on where you are with the ability to do that without the SDK?
Yeah, definitely. Maybe we certainly, well, our business model is, look, it comes with the headset and games optimized for Omni ONE with our SDK, which we believe is the best experience. And luckily, I just came back from GDC yesterday. Luckily, there's a lot of games out there, a lot of content. I have no doubt we can bring a lot of awesome games to Omni ONE that integrate our SDK, that work really well with the whole system. That said, we will not artificially lock down the device. So yes, you can hook it up to a PC, play PC-based VR games, for example, with your own headset. We do plan to create our own emulation software. That's something we've always had, by the way. The original Kickstarter Omni also had emulation software, so you can.
I saw it with Battlefield 4. I saw people running around on that back in the day.
Yeah. So we do plan to have that, so that the VR enthusiasts among us, including yourself, who just have a ton of VR games, have your own PC-based headsets. Can you hook it up to a PC and play Skyrim VR? Yes, we'd love to make sure you can do that. It's not really something that we're pushing for. It's not our main model. We think that's just selling an accessory, a controller, if you will.
Yeah.
One, it's not a great business. Two, it's okay, but the experience is not great. You have the Cat VR, for example, which it's a good product, the Cat C. I like it. And for a VR enthusiast, that kind of emulation to play existing games that are not optimized for it, for a VR enthusiast like yourself, it's okay. It's pretty good. It's fun. But for the non-VR enthusiast, I'm not sure if the experience is good enough. Just the tracking is a little bit off. The speed is off. I did see review videos where people have a hard time walking over a ledge, they fall off because the speed is just off. That's what you get with emulation software. It's a bit of a hack, right? Ultimately, it's a hack. And look, we'll enable that hack. We're certainly not going to disable it. But our thesis is that the experience is much better when it's a full system with the SDK integrated, and it's just a great VR experience for more than just VR enthusiasts. Also for the folks that maybe not even have a VR headset, they would never buy a VR headset, but wow, they saw a video of the Omni and they want to have the Omni. That's what they want to do. Well, for those folks, it better be freaking good, and we're going for that really good VR experience.
I hear you. So you're looking for something kind of more seamless to maybe pull in the people who aren't VR freaks like me and some others out there that maybe are willing to kind of venture into something new to them, but that maybe still can give them workout, like you're saying, the Peloton model, but while you're still having fun. I've always noticed while I'm using like the catwalk, for example, that I'm not a cardio guy. I don't just go on runs unless I'm being chased. You know what I mean? So I don't notice how much of a workout I'm getting when I'm on that and I'm just running around playing games. You know what I mean? It's just another day having fun, and you kind of get a workout from it. So I see what you mean by trying to pull in other people who can kind of see that aspect of it and then just enjoy themselves on it. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Perfect. I mean, I appreciate you letting me kind of grill you there. I know we got about 5 minutes left of the meeting here. I mean, is there anything else that you have for me, or any questions you have for my side of things, or anything else you want to just kind of shout out?
And I just want to thank you, J-Bar, for giving us the opportunity to speak with you, clarify some of the questions that have been out there. We're very cautious and maybe too cautious in committing and being super transparent for a variety of reasons. But I hope people do feel like we have something good going on. We
Mhm.
know what we're doing. It's not our first rodeo. We have other products in the market, so it's not that we are just a bunch of freshmen, trying
Yep.
to get something done here. So I think it's going to be terrific. I can't wait to get to this next phase with our product and our company. And I thank everybody for supporting us along the way. And if you haven't yet, sign up for our newsletter online. We'll let you know when we start shipping Omni One. We really hope to have a very vibrant community, as we already have. We keep building our
Mhm.
community and make Omni One a smashing success.
No, that's awesome to hear. And I will say one big assurance for me was hearing that you guys are pretty much at the, kind of the QA phase of building it. I worry, honestly, we've never met and I've only had so much access to so much information. A worry that I had in my head was, oh, well, maybe they didn't really get that far yet in the treadmill. But I will say it is a big assurance for me as someone who's interested in this kind of stuff to know that you're basically just stress testing it now. I'm really excited to kind of see when we hear that release date and to kind of go forward with it. So again, super appreciate your time. Really appreciate you reaching out to me on this. And maybe we'll talk again soon. If you ever want a tester, I'm around. But yeah, I'll make sure I try to head over to one of the Omni arenas kind of around me too, because I'm really excited to try one. I've never been on the Omni Pro, so I think that'd be fun.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, J-Bar. We'll keep in touch.
Of course. Thank you, Jan. We'll see you around.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Welcome back. And if you made it this far in the video, I really appreciate it. Now we should talk about some of the things we heard and maybe what my thoughts are on how this might go this year. To start things off, I want to say I really appreciate the Virtuix Investor as well as Jan reaching out and wanting to speak with me. I think both provided very valuable input, and I really appreciate it as it's really helped me dive in and learn a bit more about the Omni One and where it's at. I will say I do feel better after speaking with Jan and hearing that the treadmill is actually in more of a QA phase at this point, meaning they have a functional product and they're just stress testing it a bit to make sure everything is looking good. As I said in the interview, previously I had some concerns about even where the product was at, and I think a lot of people were in the same place. So knowing that they do have a treadmill that's just built and designed already does make me feel a bit better that we might actually see this Omni One this year. And for a couple of things that I did learn, it sounds like that online subscription fee is going to be closer to around $15 a month, which is a lot better than what I was originally hearing, which was maybe around $30 or more. But on the flip side of that, we are hearing that the Omni One might end up being a bit more expensive than the original about $2,295 mark that I was hearing. I do think it'll be interesting to hear what that final price might be, as well as what standalone headset they decide to go with. Like we discussed in the interview, there's not really that many options out there. The Neo Pico 2 is not really available in the US at this point, and then they have the Quest 2. All other headsets, anything else that could be considered standalone right now, seem to be more on the commercial side, and I do wonder if they end up having to go with something like that, how that can affect the price. And it also does sound like they are going to work on that emulation software, because I was still a little unsure in my original video whether or not that was going to be a thing, but I am happy to hear that that should be available to people, but I still think it's a little up in the air on whether or not that's going to be available at launch. I did get the impression from Jan that maybe they haven't started working on that emulation software yet, but it is planned, so I'm just not sure if that's going to be a thing once the Omni One is released or a little bit after. I do personally still have some concerns about their sales model. I think it'll be interesting to see what kind of adoption they get once they do launch the Omni One. It really sounds like the VR enthusiasts like me are kind of a secondary demographic for them, and their primary is to bring in people who are maybe looking to more just essentially buy a big console that can do everything for them and that they don't need to have a PC involved. I think my concerns still lie with the pricing as well as the monthly fees and their ability to keep people playing the multiplayer games that they have out there in their around 30 game library they have right now. I do really think this is going to be a critical year for Virtuix. If they end up not releasing the Omni One this year, that might shake the trust a bit more, but I do have a bit more confidence after speaking with Jan, and I'm really hopeful that we are going to see this product this year. And hopefully, like Jan said, we're going to start seeing a bit more information in the newsletters over these next few months. And if you want to follow along with those newsletters, I'll make sure I have a link to sign up in the description below. I'm also not sure what to feel about the smear campaign stuff that Jan was talking about. I think it's super unfortunate that Virtuix went through that, and I do feel bad for them on that part. And I don't think anybody would condone another company coming after another company like that. So I'm just kind of staying neutral on that one. Again, very unfortunate. I'm happy that Virtuix was able to kind of make it through that, and they said there was a lot of claims there that they were able to refute. So again, just kind of staying neutral because I don't want to make it seem like I 100% believe that maybe like Cat VR or someone else was behind something like that. But also it does obviously look like something happened to Virtuix there during their seed invest campaign, and that really shouldn't happen. So I'm happy that we're able to kind of clear some things up around that. But again, just don't want to be throwing hate towards any company unless something's really proven there. And don't get me wrong here, guys. I know at times I sound rather critical of Virtuix, but I'm really just trying to dig in and figure out as much information as I possibly can. I have a lot of faith in them. I really want this to succeed, and I want to see the Omni ONE come out and be an awesome product this year. I really hope that you found this video informative and that it might have answered some questions for you, but if it didn't, let me know in the comments below if there's anything else you want to know. I do plan on trying to stay in touch with Jan and maybe keep up to date a little more as this progresses. And please remember to subscribe and hit that bell. I'm really trying to make sure I have videos out every Friday afternoon. I'm still working on it, but we are going to get there. And you can also catch me live if you ever want to ask me questions there on Twitch at twitch.tv/beerandheadshots. And we are live Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays at 8 p.m. Central Time every week. I would also encourage you to join my Discord where we do VR community nights once a month, and we just have a great VR community, and I'd love to see you in there. Cheers, and we'll see you next time.